Oh man, we made it. I'm a little late, as usual, but here we are. What's up, everyone? This is Corey from the OverLook, and we go over the books you may have overlooked. Maybe you clicked on this video like, hey, Venom, this looks good. And I'm gonna be the first to say, it is. This arc is the beginning of the end for Otto Octavius as the superior Spider-Man. There have been plenty of people who have figured out his identity so far. The Wizard, Stunner, Carlie Cooper, Lily Hollister, and now the Goblin King. The Avengers have their suspicions, and so does Mary Jane. But who is going to be the first to confront Otto? Within the West Side train yard in Manhattan, Flash Thompson, the infamous Agent Venom, is on the case. There's no doubt about it. The guys he's trailing are dressed like crime masters' goons. And arms dealing was crime master's specialty. All of which adds up to very bad news for ace reporter Betty Brant, who also seems to be working a similar case, especially considering the most recent crime master was her brother. And they all thought Betty had killed him. If Bennett survived somehow, if he's back, Flash knows Betty Brant is in deep trouble. Flash sneaks up behind the storage pods and grabs Betty on the shoulder, which results in her letting out a yelp. "It's okay," he tells her. "It's me. Flash Thompson's in control. If the symbiote was, I'd be all drool and fangs and jacked up muscles." "I know that," Betty snaps. "You think I called you because I enjoy reunions with ex-boyfriends? I figured this was a job for Agent Venom, or whatever you call yourself when you're like that. Anyway, I'm researching a story on the changing face of organized crime in the city. A tip led me to them. Crime Master's men. And he should be dead. Yes. I was going to say he knew who I am, and he wasn't shy about going after people close to me." Betty rolls her eyes. Once again, this is not news. "Betty, I'm sorry for everything, and I have no right to ask you for favors, but I need you to do this for me. Take my mom somewhere, and yourself. Find a place to hole up. Don't tell anyone where, not even me. I'll call you when it's safe. I'm going to take care of this." Luckily, Flash can disguise himself as one of the goons, and they'll lead him to Crime Master. Betty agrees to do what Flash asked, but she tells him that she doesn't want to know any more than that. She doesn't want to know anything about this part of Flash's life. Beautiful, Flash thinks to himself. Just when I thought she couldn't be any more disgusted with me. But this is one thing I'm not apologizing for. You threaten the people I love. You're declaring war. And war is what I do best. Elsewhere, a momentous day for Otto Octavius and, by extension, Peter Parker is just beginning. "Congratulate yourselves," he says down to his people. "Today, you join an organization that will shake the very foundations of human civilization. This is my promise to you. Through unity, determination, and loyalty, by your unswerving dedication to my unparalleled vision, we shall crush any foolish enough to challenge us. We will rise to heights undreamed of by those with lesser minds, and sooner than anyone ever dreamed possible. The world will bend its collective knee to Parker Industries, a revolution in startups, an overthrow of the technology sector. Mark my words, and mark them well. Together, we will rule the world of science. And in celebration of our first day, there is cake in the cafeteria. Don't expect that to be a regular thing. Later, after his rousing speech, Otto and his partner, Sajani Jaffrey, take a walk around the new Parker Industries campus. Sajani jokes with Otto, saying that someone has been reading too many books on the art of war. Otto counters, "In this world of tech startups, Sajani, anything less than total commitment is courting defeat." Hey, don't get me wrong. I think your approach will get a lot better results than that new age crap Max Modell was peddling at Horizon. Of course, because you're a woman of vision, wise enough to invest in this momentous endeavor, a most worthy junior partner. At that moment, Otto sees a car parked out front. Good heavens, that's Jay Jameson's car. Is my Aunt May here? She's inside with Dr. Wortham. Why wasn't I told? Otto scurries back inside the building, stating that he mustn't keep his aunt waiting. Inside, meanwhile, May and Jay are speaking with Dr. Wortham until they are sure Peter isn't busy. While they wait, the doctor gives the two major investors a tour of the medical research wing. Jay and May also let it be known that they are well aware of who the doctor is. He is the same Elias Wortham who took over the Feast Center after that horrible business with Martin Lee, and his alter ego named Mr. Negative. Of course, Dr. Wortham calls it the Heart Clinic now. In fact, it's one of the reasons the doctor was hired as a consultant at Parker Industries. After all the money and energy Peter, and thanks to him, Spider-Man, have devoted to the clinic, the doctor could do no less. At that moment, Aunt May catches a glimpse of Anna Maria Marconi waddling by and comments aloud how proud she is of Peter for his commitment to diversity while hiring. This causes Dr. Wortham to raise an eyebrow and Jay to nervously apologize on her behalf. That is when Otto arrives. He, of course, greets his aunt and uncle with open arms, vowing that both May and Jay made a wise investment. In due time, they'll be even richer. Aunt May, however, couldn't care less about that. What she's interested in is meeting Peter's new girlfriend. Perhaps they can do brunch this week. We'd love to, but I didn't bring you here for a tour, Aunt May. I have a surprise. I've made a breakthrough in cybernetic limb technology. With Dr. Wortham's help and a simple outpatient procedure, we'll have you walking without that cane in no time. Elsewhere, in Prospect Heights, Brooklyn, Captain Yuri Watanabe visits the apartment of Carlie Cooper. And she knows this is not good. The front door's lock has been broken. Carlie hasn't been answering calls, texts, or emails, and it seems the apartment's been ransacked. They left her jewelry, credit cards, even cash, but the criminals took her files, notes, and computer hard drives. All the evidence she was building to prove the link between Dr. Octopus and Spider-Man. Yuri and Carlie must have underestimated the spider. Somehow, he found out they were onto him. And no wonder, he's got eyes everywhere. But Yuri has an ace in the hole, too. What Detective Yuri Watanabe can't find out, the Wraith can. Spider-Man better pray Carlie's okay. Because now that Yuri knows he's dirty, she's bringing him in, dead or alive. Back on Pier 64, along the Hudson, home of Parker Industries, Otto escorts his aunt and uncle out of the building before making his way back inside to check in on Ms. Marconi. "Anna Maria," he calls out as he gently taps on her office door. "Come on in," she answers. Otto enters the room and is surrounded by a glorious purple light. "What's this?" he asks her. "You know how I've been experimenting with bioluminescence as a green energy light source? Well, most fish that make their own light live in low depths, and they're not pretty or tasty. So I've genetically engineered that attribute in other species. Glow-in-the-dark sushi for nightclubs, aquariums that double as lamps, algae-powered security lights that work even when backup generators fail. Neat, huh?" "More than that," Otto adds as he grabs onto her hand. "It's magical." "Anna Maria, would you like to meet, well, my parents?" "Wow, moving kind of fast, aren't we, Slick? But that's what I like about you. You want a doctorate? You get it. Your own company? Boom, there it is. You help out Spider-Man. You look after your aunt. Anything you want to do, you just do it. And do it well. No excuses, just results. You're amazing." "Thank you. I had a close call recently. It made me realize that life is..." "Don't say short." "No, precious. You have to make every moment count. If something is wrong, you fix it as quickly and efficiently as possible. And if there's something worth having, you grab it while you can." "You're right," Anna Maria agrees as she pulls Otto closer and whispers something in his ear. "Here?" he asks. "Now, are you sure?" "Yes, I'm not wasting a moment either. Not when Spider-Man might suddenly call you away again. Let's make the most of this time, while we still have a chance." Later, the Spiderlings on Spider Island are monitoring the occurrences throughout the city. They have currently discovered Spiderbot 281 has a drug deal going down in Tompkins Square Park. Naturally, they route it to the cops. Spider-Man wants the Hobgoblin. New, classic, whatever. And if the boss ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. But then, they discover something out of the ordinary. A firefight in a warehouse near the docks. Their database IDs the perp as the crime master. Not only them, but Venom as well. Immediately, the Spiderlings call Spider-Man and begin to mobilize the Arachnauts. I hope for your sake this is important, Spider-Man tells them. You could not have called at a worse time. I was right in the middle of... Never mind. What is it? Venom? And Crime Master? Is that confirmed? No. You did well. Listen carefully to my instructions. A few minutes later, the Arachnauts emerge out of the water and crawl onto Manhattan as they catch up to the wall crawler. Sir, greets one of the Spiderlings. You brought them? Spider-Man asks. As you instructed, sir. Good. Take the old ones while I ensure the police will not get underfoot. Then, Spider-Man makes a call to the chief. Pratchett, Spider-Man here. I assume you know of the warehouse shootout. Correct. Set up a cordon. Maintain a safe distance. My men and I will be there shortly. I shall deal with this personally. We're already here, responds Chief Pratchett from outside the warehouse. You want to jump into that mess? Be my guest, but not until I confirm you've got the mayor's okay. Of course, Spider-Man has my full consent. Mayor Jameson roars into his phone. Why wouldn't he? Now do as he says. Blast it, he yells, slamming down the phone. Miss Grant, I want real-time updates on this. Glory Grant, the mayor's assistant, obliges and closes the door behind her. Jonah sinks down in his seat. At this point, he's just keeping up appearances. Even as the mayor, he has no say in it. A shootout in his city, and he's a spectator. He can't go on like this. Blackmailed by that wall-crawling menace. Jonah was right about Spider-Man all along, for all the good it does him. Because Jonah made the mistake of trusting him. He's now Spider-Man's rubber stamp, his puppet, his lackey, his clown. No different than those tiny infernal robots he... Wait, that's it, Jonah thinks. I know exactly what I have to do. Back at the docks, Agent Venom attempts to take down Crime Master's men. Crime Master orders out, "Get him! Why is it so hard to kill this guy?" Agent Venom responds, "You're not Crime Master. He knew what I could do. He also knew that if he ever showed his face again, I'd rain hell on him." What? Kingsley never mentioned that when he sold me this franchise? That lying sack of shit. Franchise? Agent Venom asks. What kind of insanity is this? As Jonah creates his plan, Spider-Man breaks into the warehouse. Spider-Man allows his Arachnauts to destroy the outer wall with their cannons and swings into the building, declaring, "On your knees, hands above your head. This is your only warning." The new Crime Master sees the ongoing assault and announces, "Okay, that's it. I'm out. I surrender. Please, I'm not the Crime Master. I bought the mask and the name from the Hobgoblin. I did some smuggling for the Magia, saved up for a stake, bought a ticket to the big leagues, but It is not at all what I expected. Can you just take me to jail? I can do jail. Spider-Man then lands on the ground, only feet away from Agent Venom. It doesn't take long for the agent to reprimand the wall crawler. Unbelievable, he says, looking around. All that for some wannabe the cops could have handled. Well, it was kinda overkill, but at least it's finished. Thanks for helping me take him down, Avenger. Spider-Man raises an eyebrow. What? I'm not here for that idiot. I'm here for you. Spider-Man then lifts his wrist gauntlet and points it at Agent Venom. A flame ignites, and he unleashes his flamethrower on the symbiote-wearing superhero. The symbiote screeches in pain within Flash's mind. He attempts to jump for cover, but the arachnauts set their sights on him as well. God, that hurts, Flash thinks. Keep it together, Thompson. Can't let the symbiote take control. That was stupid. I haven't really met Spider-Man since I started wearing the suit. Not when I was in charge, anyway. And my Avengers unit was covert. For all he knows, I'm the same slobbering, out-of-control monster he used to fight. He has no idea I'm a good guy, let alone Flash Thompson, his biggest fan. Which I'd better get over in a hurry, cause if I don't stop holding back, being a fan is going to get me killed. One of the Spiderlings gets overzealous and attempts to take down Agent Venom themselves by collapsing the entirety of their weight on top of him. Fools! Spider-Man screams out. Out of my way! At that moment, Agent Venom appears out of nowhere and kicks Spider-Man across the jaw. Spidey, listen to me. No, you listen to the song of my sonic webbing. Spider-Man releases his sonic web, and the barrage of sound that shoots out is so strong it begins peeling the symbiote from Flash's skin. Do you think I'm stupid? Spider-Man asks. I know full well that sound is your symbiote's weakness. And without the symbiote, you're nothing but... Wait! Agent Venom pleads as he pulls the symbiote from his face, revealing his secret identity. Yeah, it's me, Flash. But it's not what you think. I'm in control of the symbiote. Maybe I should have told you before, but what's important is I'm on the side of the angels. And you can trust me on this, cause, well, it's me, and you know me, right? The sound of Spider-Man reigniting his gauntlet is accompanied by the sound of the Spiderlings readying their weapons. Sorry, Flash, Spider-Man apologizes. You must have me confused with someone who cares. Down at the warehouse by the docks, Spider-Man has successfully stopped Agent Venom and the new Crime Master in a single tactical strike. The Crime Master, who was unexpectedly fighting Venom at the time, is overwhelmed and ditches his goons so that he can turn himself into the police waiting outside. As he's being handcuffed, he tells the police that it's a war zone inside the warehouse. Spider-Man and Venom are out of control. Flash Thompson, Agent Venom, the newest host of the Venom symbiote, thinks to himself that this new crime master, might have the right idea. "You got me," Flash tells Spider-Man. "What? You say you don't know me. Fine, but I know you, and the Spidey I know doesn't execute prisoners, does he?" "No," Spider-Man responds. "Of course not. In fact, I'm sure this can all be easily resolved. I'll need proof you're in control of the symbiote. Make it do something." "I'll try, but you hurt the symbiote with your fire and sonic webbing. Let me focus." Spider-Man waits for Flash to give him the slightest excuse, which he'll interpret as a hostile move, and then finish him off. Otto can't take the chance Flash might expose him, and, of course, Venom is a threat to human life that should have been put down long ago. Flash uses the symbiote to grab a number of smoke bombs off a weapons crate Crime Master and his men were smuggling and pulls out the pins. A thick cloud of smoke fills the air and constricts the vision of Spider-Man and his spiderlings. The spiderlings immediately raise their weapons and fire. The symbiote returns to Flash and he jumps back into action. He uses the symbiote's natural ability to cloak him from Spider-Man's spider sense, and his agility to take out a couple spiderlings and grab one of their weapons. He aims at Spider-Man and pulls the trigger, saying, "Sorry, but your guys look like they have itchy trigger fingers. So do you, to be honest. But you're supposed to be good guys, so I'll stick to stun." Spider-Man jumps to dodge the attack, and it hits one of the spiderlings in the chest, taking him out. Otto doesn't care. "Get him, fools!" he shouts. "His symbiote's weakened. He's just one man. One man who earned the Medal of Honor in combat. It's like you really don't know me at all." Agent Venom jumps up and kicks Spider-Man out of the air and then slams his gun across Spider-Man's face. "I know all I need to," Spider-Man scoffs. "I know how to hurt you." As his rage begins to grow, Spider-Man counters with another blast from his sonic gauntlets. Agent Venom dodges the attack, and instead, the sonic blast hits a box of grenades. "Where is he?" Spider-Man roars when the smoke finally clears. "You imbeciles! His symbiote can change its appearance. He can hide in the crowd. Scour the area. Interrogate everyone. Bring me the head of this Flash Thompson." Spider-Man's men march outside and interrogate everyone in the vicinity, police included. Chief Pratchett takes offense to this. Just because Spider-Man's guys lost the target doesn't mean they can take it out on Pratchett's men. I suggest you stop complaining, Pratchett, and start helping. And I suggest you remember the chief of police doesn't answer to Spider-Man. At that moment, Otto gets a call. "Hello? Who is this? How did you get my secure?" "Peter?" asks a small voice. "Finally!" "Ah, Anna Maria. I'm sorry, I took off in the middle of... But I had to help Spider-Man." "I know, but you owe me now, Slick. Big time." Brunch with my parents. Tomorrow. They'd love to meet you. My treat." "Oh, no you don't. Food is my thing. This is my chance to wow them. You know, I better get started right now." Kissy kissy. Kissy kissy. Otto hangs up the phone just before being greeted by a group of his spiderlings. No luck, boss, but we'll find Venom. Should I pull some of the guys off the search for Hobgoblin? No! Spider-Man spits. You will do both, or you will know my wrath. How hard can it possibly be to find someone dressed as a goblin? Elsewhere, within the Goblin underground, the Goblin King paces back and forth. The Goblin Knight and Menace are in attendance, and Menace seems to have brought the King a present.
Menace, my dear, I've told you how much I love this little present of yours, haven't I? Unfortunately, she's not the gift that keeps on giving. Are you, Officer Cooper? I've read that little book of yours. Love the twist ending, by the way. But it seems to me a key chapter is missing.
Carlie Cooper scowls up at the King from her chair she's tied to.
I don't know what you mean. Oh, really? Your journal makes it quite clear whose mind is in Spider-Man's noggin, but not whose face is under that mask. How could you know one without the other? Speak! I don't know. Me neither. And that vexes me. And I feel like I should know. It's that maddening little itch in the back of my head that I just can't scratch.
Menace offers to take a scratch at it. After all, Carlie and her are like family. Maybe if they had a little sisterly chat. The King commends this.
A capital idea. You do that, pet. See what you can learn while I'm running my errand. You two enjoy family time, while I teach the black sheep of the Goblin family a lesson.
Later, in Tribeca, within the apartment of Peter Parker, Otto and Anna Maria are just getting back from a little bit of grocery shopping. Otto opens the door, and Anna gasps. Surely there's nothing unusual here. All across the apartment are scattered computers and wires cluttering up the walkways. You know I develop equipment for Spider-Man, Otto says defensively.
There's developing, and then there's hoarding. What were you going to do? Make your poor old aunt trip over spider bots on the way to the bathroom? We have to clean this up right away.
Much of my work is at a critical stage.
Peter, if you won't do it for Aunt May, do it for me, so that I'm not worrying about it when I meet her. You want to make me happy, don't you?
Otto stutters. More than anything. Elsewhere, Flash Thompson is sneaking into the Presbyterian Hospital. He managed to escape from Spider-Man by disguising as an EMT and jumping into the back of an ambulance. Now, he's in a hospital supply closet, raiding the cabinet for drugs. He thinks to the symbiote, I know you're hurting. Just maintain the disguise a few minutes longer. After all this time, I'm still not sure what you're made of. So just tell me if there's anything here that'll make you feel better. The symbiote rifles through the cabinet and absorbs into itself a small drug cocktail. Flash scans the room and finds a wheelchair. Good news, buddy. You don't have to be my legs anymore. Just give me something to wear. It's a fine line between American hero and creepy naked guy. Next order of business. Find somewhere to lie low. Can't risk public places. Flash makes his way out of the hospital and overhears a number of firemen and police officers speaking about Mary Jane's club. Tonight, there's a big celebration, and cops, firemen, and first responders get in free. Which reminds Flash, he still has friends in the city he can turn to, and now he knows just where to go. Later that night, in MJ's nightclub, down in Chelsea, she welcomes one and all to the grand reopening of MJ's. As many know, they had a fire, and if not for Pedro Oliveira and the brave men and women of Ladder 22, well, not only wouldn't there be an MJ's, there wouldn't be an MJ. So, she raises a toast to the first responders of New York. The doors will always be open for them, free of charge. It's the least she can do. However, during the festivities, Mary Jane is visited by Captain Yuri Watanabe, and she's looking for Carlie Cooper. Yuri informs Mary Jane Carlie has gone missing, and the last call made from her phone was to her. Mary Jane explains that she has had so many messages from work and the rebuild that she didn't even think to check. So, the two go back to Mary Jane's office and listen to the message. Neither were prepared to hear what Carlie had said. Whatever you do, for your own sake, stay far away from Peter Parker. Yuri raises an eyebrow and asks Mary Jane what that could mean. Of course, Mary Jane attempts to vouch for Peter, but Yuri isn't convinced. Carlie sounded afraid of him. There may be something about Parker that makes him dangerous, or possibly some secret that has meaning to both Mary Jane and Carlie. Mary Jane offers to call Peter to clear things up, but Yuri'd prefer she didn't. She'd like if Mary Jane didn't mention this to anyone. Carlie's safety could be at stake, and Peter Parker just became a very strong person of interest. The next morning, Otto and Anna Maria are preparing for their brunch with Aunt May and Uncle Jay, when suddenly there's a knock at the door. Flash Thompson? Otto says, surprised. I know. Last you heard, I was in Philly. I'm in town for some work and I had some time off. I would have called, but my phone died. Hey, is it cool if I hang out for a while? Catch up? Otto excitedly agrees and helps push Flash's wheelchair inside the apartment, calling out, Anna Maria, this is Flash Thompson. Flash, allow me to introduce Anna Maria Marconi. Flash nervously waves his hand. It's a pleasure. Sorry to barge in. Me and Pete go way back. Yes, Otto smirks. We're longtime friends. Across town at Parker Industries, Aunt May's medical procedure is wrapping up. Dr. Wortham has successfully replaced the damaged portions of her leg with cybernetics, and everything seems to have gone smoothly. It barely took 5 minutes, and he didn't need to make an incision or even use anesthesia. And that's because it's nanotech, microscopic. There should be no discomfort whatsoever, actually. Peter really is a genius. An absent genius, comments Jay. Peter did text to make sure it went well, but after how attentive he's been lately, Jay would hate to think Peter's backsliding into his old, thoughtless ways. It's the workaholic mentality people have nowadays. His son didn't make it either. Yes, Jonah's the mayor, but Jay would love to know what he considers more important than family. Down at the former Oscorp building, current Alchemax corporate headquarters, Mayor J. Jonah Jameson is hesitant to speak. Liz Allen assures the mayor that Alchemax's head of security, Mason Banks, leads the protections against espionage, corporate and otherwise. They have the most advanced anti-threat technology in the world. I should hope so, huffs the mayor, because our opposition has eyes everywhere. But very well, let's cut to the chase. The mayor places his laptop on the table, unfolds it, and presses a button, projecting a hologram of a number of schematics. These are for the city's anti-spider patrol armor, and they are inadequate. I want improvements, upgrades. Patrols won't cut it anymore. We need city-sanctioned spider slayers. With the death of both generations of spider slayer creators, and the seizure of their equipment by authorities, all their research is available to the mayor, and therefore, Alchemax. Liz Allen looks up from the projection. Mayor Jameson, the Spider Slayer murdered your wife. Do you really want? The mayor slams his fist on the desk. What I want is for that monster's work to be used in the cause of justice. Listen to me. I know things about Spider-Man. He's not what he appears to be. The hero he wants the public to think he is. We need to be prepared. And if you don't want the contract, Ms. Allen, I'll find someone who does. Back in Tribeca, Aunt May and Uncle Jay have arrived for brunch. Here you go, everybody, Anna Maria says cheerfully as she places down the food. Wheat cakes. Aunt May shoots a beam at Peter. What an interesting choice, dear. I found the recipe stuck to Pete's fridge, so I figured he must like it. And I'm dying to see what he thinks of my improvements. Improvements? Aunt May hisses. This is the recipe for her patented wheat cakes, after all. Jay bites down on the food out of courtesy. Oh my goodness. This is amazing. For the first time using the recipe. Clearly, Anna Maria worked very hard preparing all this. Yes, of course she did. Aunt May regrettably agrees. And we do appreciate it. Anna attempts to clear the air. I'm just going to go out on a limb here. Peter didn't mention I'm a little person. it doesn't occur to him, which I adore. But if you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
I was wondering about, well,
Children. Aunt May! Otto snaps.
she brought it up. I was only curious.
In general terms, the kids might be like their mother? I'm not prejudiced, but you can't blame an old woman for worrying about her grandchildren. May! Otto slams his fists on the table and stands to his feet.
Worrying only in the sense that I'm sure there are challenges.
Flash attempts to roll his wheelchair back and away from the table. I should go. No! Peter shouts. That is to say, I have something to discuss with you, Flash. It's really a happy accident you dropped by. After Aunt May's procedure went so well, I feel I can accelerate the timetable for Phase 2. Full artificial limbs. With nowhere else to go, and Peter's insistence, Flash agrees to go to Parker Industries to undergo the test procedure. I noticed you've added to the equipment, Dr. Wortham comments. Otto responds, just some nips and tucks, last-minute improvements. I'll walk you through it when we're done. With this procedure, Flash Thompson will no longer be bound to his wheelchair, and there will be no metal plates, pins, or any of that sort of thing. Even if he is still wary, Otto tells Flash to think of all the people they will be helping if the procedure is successful. Just before the procedure begins, Otto walks out of the room, telling Dr. Wortham that he's calling in a specialist for a last-minute consultation. Of course, it's Spider-Man. Spider-Man assures the doctor that he's used this equipment in the field before. He's familiar with its quirks. Dr. Wortham has seen Spider-Man's medical skill firsthand, but in this case, excessive use of masked vigilantes could hurt their chances of PDA approval. Calm yourself, Doctor, Spider-Man responds. I'll leave the actual medicine to you. This is only a diagnostic to search Corporal Thompson's body for any anomalies. Really, just a more sophisticated form of the common ultrasound. And I can't imagine sonic imaging causing any problems. Spider-Man turns on the machine, and a bombardment of sonic rays hits Flash and causes the hidden Venom symbiote to screech out in pain. Spider-Man continues the onslaught until the symbiote separates from Flash in a search for safety, and then captures it in a containment pod. It worked! The symbiote's been extracted and contained, Spider-Man cheers. Flash jumps to his feet and grabs Spider-Man by the collar. What the hell did you do? I saved you. I removed a deadly alien symbiote from your body and gave you the gift of mobility. Or hadn't you noticed you're standing? A thunking sound echoes in the back of their conversation. The symbiote is trying to escape. Don't worry, we're safe. I based the containment unit's design on the one Reed Richards used to hold it before. Flash's rage begins to peak. You talked to Pete. Set this whole thing up. Of course. I'm sorry for the deception, but whatever you knew, the symbiote would have known. You don't understand. I had the symbiote under control, but now it's in pain, scared, isolated, and a hell of a lot stronger than you remember. At that moment, the symbiote shatters the glass of the containment unit and shoots forward, forming into a number of dagger-like tendrils. Flash tackles Dr. Wortham out of the way, and the symbiote shoots straight for Spider-Man and wraps around him, encasing him and transforming him into the superior Venom. What's up, y'all? This is Corey with the OverLook, and we go over the books you may have overlooked. It's Monday morning as I'm finishing up this script, and I thought to myself, what if Hobgoblin got the Venom symbiote? I mean, he clearly leases out other supervillain personas and costumes for franchise purposes, I guess. I don't know. He sells them to other crooks. What if he gave a piece of the symbiote with every suit, and bam, you got a super powered henchman? I don't know. They did that kind of already with Lee Price, but I like my idea better. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you like the idea? Who would you give the Venom symbiote to? Or, just leave a like and support. I don't know. Anyway, I hope you all enjoy. I am the superior Venom, Spider-Man hisses within the med lab inside Parker Industries. Superior. Flash Thompson, knowing full well of the symbiote's potential, pushes Dr. Wortham aside, telling him to stay back. Spider-Man can't control the symbiote like he can. It's in pain, scared, and confused. Flash wonders aloud what would happen if he offers it a safe place to go and attempts to psychically reach out to the alien creature. The symbiote begins to stretch from Otto's body and sprawls out towards Flash. Then it speaks through Spider-Man, growling, "Old host, bad, tastes wrong, want to go home." Flash doesn't think twice about what is being said. He's just glad the symbiote is responding to him. That's it. Come back to Flash. Back to where you belong. I think not, Spider-Man scowls, lunging forward and punching Flash hard enough to send the army veteran flying across the room. Your plebeian brain can't hope to command a creature like this, but with my mind bringing it to heel, there is no limit to what I can do. Dr. Wortham begins generating his beta energy, slowly transforming into his cardiac persona. He tells Spider-Man, "I can tell you're not thinking clearly, but I can also see you're dangerous. Either you take my advice as a doctor and relinquish the symbiote, or as cardiac, I'll take it from you." Spider-Man grows a number of tendril-like appendages from his back and jabs at Dr. Wortham, stabbing his chest and disrupting his stored beta energy reactor. Hypocrite! Spider-Man's teeth gnash as he uses his new appendages to hold him up high. This from a man who can't control his own power without his metal mesh skin. He's nothing. Dr. Wortham howls out in pain and collapses on the floor. Physician, heal thyself. You'll repair that eventually. When you do, remember, a true monster would have gutted you like a fish. Outside the med lab, employees are gathering, asking each other about the loud banging coming from inside. Sajani, annoyed, asks why everyone is just standing around, debating on whether or not to open the door. At that moment, a concussive force blasts the reinforced metal door off its hinges and breaks apart the wall surrounding it. Each of the employees, Sajani included, are thrown aside and left helpless as Spider-Man uses his new tendrils to crawl out the laboratory. One side, woman, he orders. Sajani does so and waits for Spider-Man to turn the corner before running into the lab and calling for emergency medical attention for Dr. Wortham and Flash Thompson. Outside, Spider-Man uses his new appendages to stilt his way across traffic and traverse the side of a nearby skyscraper. Otto thinks to himself that he's never felt so alive. The sheer power of the symbiote is incredible. Of course, Parker couldn't handle it. Only Otto's iron will can leash such a being. Thompson will claim otherwise, try to take it back. But Otto won't let him. Otto must show it's in better hands with him. He'll prove he's in full control, publicly and definitively. So, he makes the call. Attention, Spiderlings! I must make my presence felt. Alert me to any criminal activity, no matter how minor, and program the spider bots to do the same. I want immediate results. Do you hear me? Find me some crime. Across town, an armored vehicle has been overturned by a superpowered criminal in an enhanced grizzly bear suit. But he isn't the grizzly. That was the last guy. He's the Bruin. And while trying to build their rep, one must remember branding is everything. At that moment, the Hobgoblin swoops in on his goblin glider and requests his cut of the money. The Bruin reluctantly hands over one of his bags of money he looted from the truck. Hobgoblin did sell him the suit after all. Hobgoblin then chuckles to himself as he rockets back into the air. He rips off his mask, revealing himself to be none other than the Goblin King once again. The chuckle soon transforms into a full-blown cackle.
There's more where this came from, and more idiots like him who can't tell one goblin from another. There are only two kinds, the one true green goblin and those who serve him, whether they know it or not.
At Parker Industries, Sajani Jaffrey has managed to seal his wound for now, but they'll need more of Dr. Wortham's special mesh if they want to keep him walking. Later, he tells her, I have to go after that creature. Sajani tells the doctor that he's clearly in no shape to move, but he's still better off than Corporal Thompson. Xenobiology is Sajani's chosen field of study, and after a number of tests, it's clear to her that Flash has been using chemicals to help control the symbiote. Yeah, Flash responds, and the longer it goes without him, the harder it is to be. Listen, Sajani interrupts. Those drugs in the symbiote changed your biology. Your body needs that creature to survive. If we don't get it back inside you soon, you will die. What? How long are we talking, Doc? Weeks? Days? Hours, Corporal. At best. Spiderbot 427 reports a mugging in progress within Alphabet City. They fancy themselves predators, but Otto will show them what it means to be prey. Spiderbot 211 spots a purse snatcher in Greenwich Village. They must be dealt with. They must know this city has a protector, a lethal protector. Spiderbot 845 alerts the hero of someone who is texting while driving. Otto pulls the criminal out of the car and asks the scum if that text was worth his life. Otto then gets a call from Sajani. I'm busy, he hisses. Off site. Your friend hurt bad. You can handle it. I have another call coming in. Otto ends the call and picks up the other. Speak. Peter? Anna Maria, are you crying? I know you're busy. Otto tells Anna Maria it doesn't matter. Whatever it is, he will fix it. Elsewhere, within Roderick Kingsley's safe house, Kingsley curses his luck. His franchises are falling apart. Mysterion is missing. The Uric kid has been exposed and is now gone with the wind. And Blue Streak got busted by Luke Cage in the mighty Avengers. And now, these three idiots, the Bruin, Blaze, and Devil Spider, gave Kingsley's cut to some random guy? The three new legacy villains attempt to explain that the guy who picked up the money looked just like Kingsley. He had the outfit, at least. And who else but Kingsley knew they were in New York for a delivery? Shut up, Devil Spider, Kingsley roars. I made you, and if I don't get my money, I'll shut you down. So you better figure it out, and fast. Later, at Anna Maria's apartment, Otto rushes through the building to Anna's front door so quickly that he barely gives the suit enough time to transform back into his street clothes. When she answers the door, she's crying. What's wrong? If someone's hurt you, I'll... No, I'm worried I hurt you. Your relationship with your Aunt May. It's perfectly natural. She didn't know I was a little person. She wasn't mean, just surprised. I thought I was way past it getting to me. But seeing that look from the mom of the guy I care so much about didn't help. And obviously it showed on my face which is why you went ballistic. But, Peter, it's not her fault. It's mine. Don't be mad at her. Otto hides Anna Maria's face in his chest while an insidious scowl grows on his own. The fault was mine, he tells her. I should have spoken to Aunt May, and I'm going to rectify that by doing so now. Don't worry, my dear. She will not be a problem. And now, within the Goblin Underground, Phil Urich, former Hobgoblin, current Goblin Knight, asks the Green Goblin, "You threw away the money?"
It was cumbersome and unimportant. The message is what really matters. Really, Urich, I can't understand how Kingsley terrified you so. He doesn't have the right stuff in the Goblin department. He's going to find out quite painfully how the real Goblin deals with pretenders.
The Goblin King descends a stairway into the area where Officer Carlie Cooper is being held.
Any progress, Menace? Has dear Carlie turned chatty? No, she's stubborn. Well, you tried it your way. Now, we'll do it mine.
The Goblin King reaches down into his satchel and pulls out a vial of glowing green liquid. He holds it up for Carlie to see and shakes the vial just enough to get the strange liquid bubbling.
You're going to kill her?
Menace asks cautiously.
She is my sister. I don't see the resemblance,
the king huffs.
But this goblin formula should fix that problem nicely.
Carlie begins to shake back and forth violently within her restraints. She looks to Menace. Lily, don't let him do this, please. But it's too late. The Goblin King presses down on a button and sprays a cloud of toxin on the officer.
I'm just welcoming you to the family. One where we don't keep secrets. Especially about Spider-Man!
Meanwhile, Mary Jane is walking along a sidewalk in Central Park West and leaving Carlie yet another voicemail. Mary Jane is hoping, praying Carlie gets this one. She goes on to explain that she heard Carlie's last message about staying away from Peter, but she needs to know why. Mary Jane wants to help, but she doesn't know who she can trust. This woman, Captain Watanabe, says she's a friend of Carlie's, but Mary Jane is getting a weird vibe, like she's hiding something. The only thing Mary Jane can do right now is what Carlie asked, as well as make her way to Aunt May and Uncle Jay's condo to warn them of the potential danger. Mary Jane checks in with the doorman, and Aunt May welcomes the unexpected surprise. But somehow, Otto is able to slip by security and arrives unannounced. Aunt May gasps when she turns around. Peter? The doorman didn't tell us. I gave you your leg back, and you repay me by humiliating my woman. How dare you do that to me? Jay grabs Otto by the shoulder. Now, hold on! I will not let you speak to your aunt that way. Tears begin to build in Aunt May's eyes. No, he's right.
I hurt that poor girl with questions I had no right to ask. Because you don't tell me anything anymore, Peter. You lied when you said you'd quit working for Spider-Man. I saw what he did to that man who kidnapped me. He's a monster. I forbid you to have anything to do with him.
What? Otto shouts, fuming with rage. You forbid me? Peter! Shouts another voice from behind. It's Mary Jane, grabbing Otto by the shoulder. We need to talk. Private stuff. Come out to the balcony with me. Now. Mary Jane? What is the meaning of? No! You don't demand answers from me. I demand answers from you. What is going on with you lately? You're acting like a completely different person. And what do you know about Carlie? Mary Jane is interrupted by a high-pitched beeping from Otto's phone. He holds up his finger. One moment. Yes. Mary Jane, there's an emergency. Go make the proper excuses. This is what I'm talking about, screams Mary Jane. You act like the whole world's here to serve you. You can't treat people like that. Otto smirks. On the contrary, I can do anything. The symbiote starts transforming Otto's street clothes back into his Spider-Man suit. The blackened alien creature has haunted Mary Jane's memories since the time Eddie Brock broke into their apartment. Oh my God! She collapses to her knees and throws up her arms for protection. No, not again! Otto lets the symbiote thrive off his rage.
Tell the others that Spider-Man summoned me, or tell them nothing, and I will deal with it later. But do not cross me, woman, or there will be consequences.
Mary Jane lets out a shriek and Otto jumps off of the balcony. Seconds later, Captain Yuri Watanabe walks through the front door, pistol drawn. Police, nobody move. The captain makes her way past Aunt May and Uncle Jay into the balcony. To her surprise, she finds Mary Jane alone, with her face buried in her hands. Where's Parker? Spider-Man came and got him. You screamed like that because of Spider-Man. Why? I was startled. That's it, Yuri says, grabbing Mary Jane by the arm. You know more than you're telling. You're coming down to the station. Now. Wait, Jay huffs, clearly confused. What about Peter? What's happening? Has the whole world gone insane? Down in the Diamond District, the new legacy villains, Death Spider, Blaze, and the Bruin, are busy overturning police cars and burning everything in sight. Blaze swears this will do wonders for their reps. Death Spider, on the other hand, doesn't understand. Americans always seem to have an obsession with fame, where he prefers to take his share of the diamonds, return to South America, and never be seen again.
You wish to disappear, eh?
A voice booms over the roar of the burning flames.
I can arrange that.
Later, Captain Watanabe escorts Mary Jane down to the 18th District for questioning. You're not under arrest yet, but if you want to place a call, Go ahead, make it a good one. Mary Jane creates some space between her and Captain Watanabe before making the call. "Hello?" she calls out. "Anyone there? Please." "How did you get this number?" a man answers. "I'm a friend of Spider-Man's. He gave it to me for emergencies and you have to help him. He's been taken over by the Venom symbiote." "Don't worry, ma'am," the man responds. "Just tell us where you saw him last, and leave this to the Avengers." In the Diamond District, there is a robbery in progress, and Spider-Man is here to put a stop to it. With his new tendrils, Spider-Man lifts up the armored truck and slams it against the villain, the Bruin. The Bruin falls unconscious and collapses to the floor right next to Devil Spider. Blaze lifts his blaze gun and shoots a wave of flames at the wall crawler, claiming this isn't Spider-Man. Spider-Man's not this strong. "Who are you?" Blaze asks. I am the superior Venom. And you, Blaze, are the only true threat in this collection of idiots, though a minor one." Without looking, the superior Venom uses one of his tendrils to pierce the gas tank on Blaze's blaze gun, and uses the rest to constrict the villain and attempts to squeeze the life out of him. When, all of a sudden, a voice booms from above. "Release him! Fight the creature that possesses thee, my friend. We shall do all in our power to secure thy freedom." The superior Venom's eyes fill with disdain as he watches Thor, Spider-Woman, Black Widow, Wolverine, and Captain America jump from a Quinjet and land right in front of him. The Avengers. Spider-Woman pleads for Spider-Man to stand down, but he refuses. The superior Venom wants to fight the Avengers, and he can no longer think of a reason not to. Elsewhere, within the safe house of Roderick Kingsley, the original Hobgoblin, Kingsley is receiving a video transmission from Blaze requesting backup and some medical assistance. "So call an ambulance," Kingsley spits. "I've got bigger problems. I just lost 3 more franchises, and I won't stand for that kind of hit on my rep or my profits. Steeplejack, Tumbler, Ringer, come in." 3 new legacy villains appear on screens scattered around the room. "All of you, go out and earn your keep. Now. And remember, there's an imposter out there. You turn over my cut to me only. Understand? Not the mask. This face." Back in the Diamond District, the superior Venom is keeping the Avengers at bay. He uses a tendril to stab at Spider-Woman, but she is able to use her agility to dodge the attack. Wolverine is able to claw apart another. Black Widow isn't so fortunate. She attempts to distance herself, but one of the tendrils smacks her out of the air. The last tendril almost strikes an unsuspecting Thor, but Captain America dives in and blocks the attack with his shield. The superior Venom roars out, "I have had enough! I've done more for this city than you ever did, and you question me, persecute me. Never again." Thor raises his hammer, Mjolnir, into the air and summons a concentrated lightning storm. The warrior madness afflicts him. I must end this. Bolts of lightning strike down and crack the asphalt beneath them. The superior Venom dodges every strike. The other Avengers, on the other hand, do not. Thor then absorbs the storm back into the hammer and lunges forward to attack. You may sense it, but you will never stop it. Oaf, my power grows with each passing moment. I am not your equal. I am your better. The superior Venom leaps forward to meet the God of Thunder in the air, and both of them exchange blows. The force of the exchange is enough to throw aside any nearby rubble. Afterwards, the superior Venom lands on his feet, and the god falls to his knees. Then, Spider-Woman uses her Venom blasts to strike the superior Venom in his back. "Backstabbers!" he howls. "But I have allies of my own. Spider Island, do you copy? Full strike! Every spiderling, every arachnaut, to me! We go to war with the Avengers!" On Spider Island, the Spiderlings receive Spider-Man's message and respond by deploying every arachnaut they have stored within the hangar. They are apprehensive at the thought of fighting the Avengers of all people. They are the good guys. But that just means, unlike their boss, the Avengers won't try to kill them. Phil Urich, the Goblin Knight, perches on a rafter up above and records the Spiderlings' every move. "Goblin Knight to Green Goblin. I got footage of their crisis response protocols. Layout, all we need. I already see weak points we can exploit. Everything good over there?" The Goblin King commends his knight and tells Phil, now he must move on to the next task. As for them, the Goblin King is watching as Menace is treating the former Carlie Cooper to a full-fledged Goblin makeover. And they are having so much fun.
"This is just like when we were little girls playing dress-up,"
says Menace, formerly known as Lily Hollister. Menace's family adopted Carlie when she and Lily were young, after Carlie's father died. She's also the mother of Harry Osborn's second child.
"No,"
Carlie responds.
"that was someone else. A repressed drone who worked herself half to death in a forensics lab, making sure the monsters got locked up, ignoring the fact we're all monsters."
The Goblin King chuckles.
Why, my dear? I believe you've just rechristened yourself. Let me be the first to say goodbye to Carlie Cooper and welcome to our little clan, Monster!
The Goblin King grips onto Monster's face with both hands.
Now, families don't keep secrets. So, let's cut to the big reveal. The spider's real name. Who is he?
Monster brushes the king's hand aside.
If I did know something like that, I wouldn't share it with just any old goblin. Quid pro quo. Who are you?
The Goblin King's attitude shifts dramatically.
Don't let the theatrics fool you. It's me, Norman Osborn.
Monster then brings her hand up to the king's own face.
Easy to say. Prove it. Take off your mask.
The Goblin King begins to chuckle once again.
Aren't we forward? I'd be a fool to unmask for someone who hasn't proved she's traded her NYPD badge for a spot on Team Goblin. Menace, arrange a coming out party for our dear little princess. Make sure she paints the town red.
A wave of spiderlings line up and take fire at Captain America. This is insanity, the captain calls out from behind the cover of his shield. Black Widow jumps out and returns fire as Spider-Woman flanks them from behind. Thor is preoccupied, attempting to take down the first of the approaching arachnauts, and Wolverine is clawing at the superior Venom. Somehow, the superior Venom is able to use his tendrils to ground himself as he evades every slash. Captain America, to all available Avengers, we need backup. If you can hear me, Avengers, assemble! Iron Man is the first to answer the call, but Captain America tells him to reroute. He reasons if Spider-Man has been taken over once again by the Venom symbiote, then that means another Avengers in trouble. Corporal Eugene Thompson. Okay, Iron Man responds. I know there's a lot of us now, but I've never heard of him. Captain America takes his time to respond back, dispatching spiderlings as he moves through the madness. I worked with him on a few covert missions. He was Agent Venom and in control of the symbiote. If they've been separated, finding out how and why could be the key to winning this fight. And he also might need help. Iron Man searches and finds there was an emergency 911 call mentioning a Eugene Thompson. The location it came from, Parker Industries. And within Parker Industries, Thompson's vitals are dropping. Thankfully, Sajani Jaffrey has equipment the EMTs don't. Even still, it's just buying time. Without it, Flash is going to die. Dr. Wortham isn't doing much better. Sajani has sent for more of the mesh that contains his energy, but until it gets there, Dr. Wortham is being held together with chewing gum. Maybe I can help, Iron Man says as he arrives. I have a knack for making the best of the materials at hand. At first, Symbiote is apprehensive. That is, until Dr. Wortham lets her know Tony Stark is well aware of his cardiac persona. Since the superhuman Civil War, they have had an understanding. Iron Man nods back, then turns his attention to Flash. Captain America briefed me on your situation as well, Corporal Thompson. Dr. Wortham, I can seal the tear in that temporary patch. Then, I'd appreciate your thoughts on an idea I have. And, Symbiote, was it? Impressive equipment you've got here. Peter Parker worked at my company for a while. Sharp guy. I wouldn't mind his insight on this too. Symbiote tells Iron Man, sorry, I already called him. He's busy. At the Diamond District, the Avengers are having trouble fighting against both the superior Venom and his army of underlings. Spider-Woman and Black Widow continue to dispatch the Spiderlings one by one. Wolverine continues to take a beating. He doesn't have his healing factor anymore, and he's slowly dying from adamantium poisoning. And this battle is getting the best of him. Onlookers from all over New York watch. You gotta be kidding me! Spider-Man's beaten up on Captain America. The nerve of that guy! The Avengers saved us from those aliens! Spidey didn't do squat! That's what I've been saying. He's got all these robots spying on us. He's worse than the NSA, who elected him Big Brother. He's right. One peeked on me in the bath. One woman lifts up her purse and slams it on a spider bot. This is their city, and she says they take it back. Within the Spider Island Command Center, the Spiderlings are losing cameras all over the city. And now they're getting that glitch they've been fighting all along, and they still don't know what's causing it. If they had more than a skeleton crew, they could do something about it. But at the moment, things aren't looking good. Over the city, Monster and Menace have found Hobgoblin's new legacy villains, Steeplejack, Tumbler, and Ringer.
The little bottom feeders.
Menace spits.
You're up, sister. Show them how we do with those foolish enough to work that goblin's territory.
Tumbler and Ringer attempt to run away, calling the women crazy. But flattery will get them nowhere. Steeplejack, however, refuses to run and stands his ground. They're just dames playing games, he comments. He lifts his weapon and shoots Monster in the shoulder. Ooh, you like it rough, huh? She snickers.
So do I.
Monster flies her goblin glider full speed and rams into Steeplejack and slams him into a car. The force of the attack is so strong, it crushes the metal of the car around him.
Aww,
she pouts.
It's not moving. I think I broke it. Just like a fake goblin to use substandard materials. The Goblin Knight watches it all go down from the top of a building. He waits for Menace and Monster to leave before he makes the call. Yeah, boss, I got it. Seems legit. She wasn't holding back at all. Maybe even a little over exuberant. But she's new. That's to be expected. I'll head back as soon as I tie up loose ends.
The Goblin Knight leaps down from the building and lands just in front of Steeplejack. The man begs for his life. Please. Need hospital. The knight chuckles.
It's your lucky day, pal. I can help with that.
Then he draws his sword and plunges it into Steeplejack's chest, burning the villain from the inside out.
There! Now you don't need a hospital anymore. You watching, Roddy? It's your old whipping boy, Phil Urich. I'm in a new crew now. You want to talk surrender terms? You know where to reach me. Ciao.
In the Diamond District, Spider-Woman and Black Widow have finished off the last of the Superior Venom's men. Look around, Spider-Woman tells him. Your men are all down. Some could be badly hurt. You don't want to do this. The Superior Spider-Man keeps his distance. I know about your pheromones, woman. Okay, but that doesn't mean they can't reach you, calm you down, remind you we're your friends. My friends would not play me like a puppet! The Superior Venom uses his tendrils to launch himself forward, and he lands a powerful left hook across Spider-Woman's jaw, sending her flying back into a mountain of debris. Captain America throws his shield down in order to catch Spider-Woman, and Thor announces that he will restrain himself no longer. He charges in again with his hammer held high, ready to attack. The Superior Venom uses his tendril to sneakily grab onto Captain America's shield. Lout, if you are a god, this is your twilight. The Superior Venom grips the shield with his hand and launches it at the Lord of Lightning, hitting Thor in his throat and stopping the god. And, once again, brings him to his knees. Fools! None of you can match me. Not physically, and certainly not mentally. Oh, I don't know about that. I've got a degree or 6, Tony Stark comments as he slowly approaches the battle. However, for some reason, he isn't wearing his Iron Man armor. This throws off the Superior Venom just long enough for Flash Thompson to sneak up behind him. Flash, wearing the iron armor, punches the Superior Venom in the back of the skull, then unleashes a concentrated blast of arc reactor energy, which successfully weakens the symbiote just long enough for what Flash is going to do next. The Superior Venom couldn't sense Flash sneaking up because his spider sense doesn't react to the symbiote. And Flash, as a longtime host, still has traces of the symbiote within him. Flash attempts to talk down the symbiote. It's all good. You want to come back to me, don't you? He can't force you to stay now. The symbiote morphs and swells around Otto's body. Its muscles become massive. Its teeth begin to gnash. Its tongue begins to whip. And it hisses. You used chemicals, controlled me. Now, I am in control. Better, faster, stronger, superior. For a moment, Otto is able to get a hold of himself. Just long enough for him to start clawing the symbiote away from his body. He can see now that he's been a fool. How could he not see? The creature was influencing him, taking over, because it didn't want him to. It affected his perceptions, his judgment, while it slowly asserted its dominance. But the symbiote erred. He is Otto Octavius, and he is more than a match for some creature. And by the strength of his will, he shall cast it out. I shall, he repeats to himself, softly. I can't. Suddenly, the tables begin to turn. The symbiote's grip over Otto starts to weaken. Wait, I think I'm doing it. I'm gaining the upper hand. What Otto isn't aware of is that this isn't him beating the symbiote. All he's doing is forcing Peter's hand. Peter has been holding back, waiting for the right chance. But he can't do it. He can't let Otto pull them even further into darkness. He's Peter Parker. And this is just the beginning. Because he swears he will be free. The symbiote is expelled from Otto, and it writhes on the ground, searching for an escape or a new host. Otto thinks to himself that it was nearly too late. For anyone else, it would have been. Who but he possesses the iron will to throw off such a monster? Peter lets out a sigh of relief. It's good, Otto thinks, that he did this all on his own. For now, at least. It's back to keeping a low profile. Meanwhile, Flash Thompson exits the Iron Man armor and reaches back out to the symbiote a second time. Come here. It's okay. You were confused. Come home. We need each other. We belong together. As Agent Venom. Everything's going to be alright. Otto takes stock of his surroundings. Good heavens, he thinks. Look at this chaos. How will I ever... Wait. As ever, in crisis there is opportunity. He turns to the group of Avengers standing behind him. My friends! How can I ever repay you? At last, after all these months, I'm myself again. Months? Agent Venom asks. It's only been a few. Ah, but it hasn't. When we last met, I was infected by microscopic fragments of the symbiote. You mean that time? Yes, exactly. It hid within me, replicating, slowly taking control. You may have observed me acting strangely. Now you know why. But, thanks to you, my nightmare is over. Everything is as it should be. All is right in the world. Elsewhere, within the Goblin underground, the Goblin King gathers the Goblin Knight, Menace, and Monster so they can be present when he makes the call to their enemy. Roderick Kingsley appears on the screen. Osborn, is that you?
Hello, Roddy. Still sponging off the work of your betters, I see.
You're one to talk. I get it now. You've been impersonating me, ripping off my men.
Consider it a gauntlet thrown, a challenge. If you wish to accept, name the place. We'll sort it out like men. Of course, you could always walk away.
Not on your life. I've spent too long building my empire to give it up to a raving lunatic like you.
Lovely! It's official then. Let the war of the goblins begin!
Later that night, at the office of NYPD Captain Yuri Watanabe, Aunt May and Uncle Jay are demanding that Yuri hand over Mary Jane Watson at once. If not, the next call Jay will make will be to his son, Jonah, the mayor of New York. Yuri tells Jay and May that Mary Jane is free to go, but she will be keeping a close eye on both Mary Jane and Peter Parker moving forward, because if they won't help her find out what happened to Carlie Cooper, Yuri can only assume it's because they have something to hide. Mary Jane is released, but even still, she doesn't answer any of the questions May or Jay ask either. She just hops into a cab and tells the two that she will answer everything in full later. She just can't right now. A little while after, Mary Jane arrives at Peter's apartment. Bought myself some time, but I have to call her soon. Oh, Peter, what am I going to tell your aunt? Tell her everything's fine. Otto turns on the TV, and a news clip from earlier that day appears on the screen. Look, it's all over the news. The symbiote was removed from me. I realize I've been acting strangely, and I can't apologize enough if I've caused you pain. But at least now you know why. Mary Jane, can you forgive me for putting you through that? Mary Jane leans in and hugs Otto. Yes, I mean, that was terrifying, but it explains a lot. The funny thing is, until recently, no matter how weird you acted, I always felt that, deep down, you were still you. And I feel it again. You're back. At Avengers Tower, the heroes are reviewing the battle with Spider-Man. Iron Man asks, "So, did anyone buy that line of bull from Spider-Man? Because I sure didn't." Flash explains that microscopic pieces of symbiote could make sense, theoretically, but he thinks he'd know if it happened. He has a mental link with the symbiote, and he hates to do it, but Flash attempts to access the alien creature's memories of Spider-Man. It doesn't work. Flash just gets a cloud of static preventing him from seeing anything. Captain America walks up and shakes Flash's hand. "We'll look into it. But, given their history, I think it's best to keep your symbiote far away from Spider-Man. I'll keep you informed. You're a good soldier, Flash, and a good man. Wolverine takes a moment to tell Iron Man he believes Spider-Man is the same person he's always been. He smells the same, his voice is the same, even his heartbeat. Spider-Woman adds that the tests they ran on Spider-Man before said the same thing. There are no traces of dark magic. He's not a space phantom or a Skrull. Iron Man turns on his computer. No offense, but I designed most of this equipment. I know it better than anyone. I'd like to take a look at the readings. Maybe I'll see something you didn't. Well, what do you know? It's been erased. And so have the security camera feeds from that day. Except the one only I know about. Now, let's see who did this. A feed from the camera hidden in the computer keyboard appears on the screen, showing none other than Spider-Man. That does it, Captain America barks. Time to bring in Spider-Man. In Rosebank, on Staten Island, just outside an abandoned Oscorp factory, the Spider-Bot Patrol Unit number 2557 scans the area. It scans the paintings of the Green Goblin, and then the Goblin Protocol goes into effect, and the Spider-Bot disengages, reporting that there is no activity to be seen. But within the old factory, the Goblin King's grenades detonate one after the other. He cackles madly as he soars around on his Goblin glider. The Goblin King brought the entirety of the Goblin Underground with him. Street thugs, punks, the Vulture Children, Hand Ninjas, the Owl's Men, and the other various villains the king has enlisted in his return. The Hobgoblin's army of legacy villains protect him with their lives. And he swears to pay $50,000 to whoever kills the most of the king's men. And a free franchise for life to anyone who helps him kill Phil Urich, the traitor. The Goblin King's laughter begins to fade as he takes in his surroundings.
Stop!
He cries out.
The joke's over. This battle has gone on long enough. Everyone, cease fire!
What the hell is this, Goblin? The Hobgoblin asks. A timeout? You started this, impersonating me, egging me on. You declared this war. You can't just call a truce. This is... The Goblin King finishes his sentence.
Pointless, Kingsley, and costly.
The Hobgoblin doesn't respond.
Ah, now I'm speaking your language. Look around. All we're doing is picking off each other's men. It's a waste.
The Hobgoblin tries to distance himself from the king. There's always more where they came from.
True! But finding fresh meat, testing them, training them, all takes precious time, Kingsley. And right now, every goblin needs an army. And for good reason.
The Goblin King leans in with an insidious grin. Which is? The Hobgoblin asks impatiently.
The spider has one.
Elsewhere, at the New York harbor, Spider-Man is leading his spiderlings in a battle against AIM. Whatever it takes, he orders them. These weapons will not fall into enemy hands. Even the great scientists at AIM have to wonder aloud how Spider-Man knew of their shipment. Their whole tanker was stealth shielded. Imbecile, I have eyes everywhere. Nothing in this city escapes my sight. At that moment, the Avengers arrive. Spider-Man, Captain America calls out, demanding the wall crawler's attention. We'd like to have a word with you. What? Spider-Man, unfazed, turns around. Oh, it's you. Not now, I'm busy. Captain America expected as much. All right then. Avengers, disassemble. At the captain's call, all the Avengers, Iron Man, Wolverine, Black Widow, Thor, and Spider-Woman jump into the fray, dispatching AIM scientist and Spiderling alike. And while Thor dismantles the Arachnaut with much satisfaction, Spider-Man just stands by and watches. The smell of smoke from the Arachnaut fills the air. It takes no time at all for the dock to be covered by the unconscious bodies of ill-prepared and underpowered foot soldiers. The captain stomps towards Spider-Man, looks him straight in the eye, and tells him, "This is Avengers business. We're doing it now." Very well, Captain. And this is pertaining to what exactly? Your probation is over. And now, within the mindscape, the shadow of Peter Parker's memory stares into a vast openness. He sees scattered memories so distant from one another they can't be connected. Peter thinks to himself, he doesn't know much, but what he does know is that he's Peter Parker, and he's not dead. But he might as well be. He fought so hard to get back here, and for what? Just look what Otto has done to him. There's barely any of him left. Otto dumped close to all Peter's memories. Everything except the ones he shared with Otto, and a few that Otto peeked and committed to his own memory. Like Aunt May's wheat cakes. Or that a spider bit him. But why is it burning him so much? And why is it glowing that way? It takes some time, but Peter remembers once again. He is Peter Parker, and he's Spider-Man. Or maybe not. At the moment, he's just fragments, the little pieces that got left behind. An overflow of emotion hits Peter and it brings him to his knees. What am I supposed to do? he asks out to anyone who will listen. I couldn't beat Ock at full strength. What chance do I have now? Back at the Oscorp factory, the Hobgoblin and the Goblin King continue to fly through the air with their goblin gliders. They circle each other like birds of prey, fighting over the carcass and scraps of the underworld. The Hobgoblin grunts. All right, you have your truce. Now what?
What indeed? Eerie, isn't it? The din of war suddenly stopping, followed by a profound hush. All quiet on the Western Front.
The king roars out in laughter. No one joins him.
Ever read it?
He asks. What?
It's a book, Kingsley, with covers, pages, and everything. My favorite part. A soldier wonders why a war can't be like a bullfight. Except, he says, in the arena, the ministers and the generals of the two countries, dressed in bathing drawers and armed with clubs, can have it out amongst themselves. Whoever survives, his country wins.
So, is that it? The Hobgoblin huffs. You and me. Winner takes all. Fine. Let's do this. For real. The Hobgoblin reaches into his satchel and pulls out a pumpkin bomb and flings it at the Goblin King. The king reaches into his own bag and pulls out his own flaming pumpkin.
Like an imitation like you would know from real. You're nothing but a bad copy, Kingsley. Or a copy of a copy.
Shut up, Hobgoblin barks.
So, who are you this time? Flash Thompson? Ned Leeds? Mackendale? Or possibly the brother, Daniel Kingsley? No, wait. He doesn't have a head anymore.
The Goblin King punches the Hobgoblin across the face, and the Hobgoblin retaliates by pulling out a new, special pumpkin bomb. But then again, how do we know it's you under that mask? He hisses. Maybe you're that loser, Bart Hamilton. Or, yes, it is you, Osborne, but not Norman. You're the other one, the disappointment, Harry.
What? How dare you say that about my...
The Goblin King is thrown off guard by the Hobgoblin's words and does not see the bomb coming. It hits the king, point blank, and sends him crashing to the ground. Elsewhere, at Avengers Tower, Spider-Man stares out the window. Otto notices they replaced the glass. He remembers the view from the other side as Dr. Octopus pushed him through. For a moment, he thought he'd die. Ironically, inside Spider-Man's body. And while that day will come, hopefully, it won't be for a very long time. Sorry, are we boring you? Iron Man asks, snapping Otto back to reality. What? With all the charges we're raising, for drumming you out of the Avengers. No, please continue. You have my well-deserved attention. Iron Man brings up a projection. Since returning to Earth, I've gone through all the tower's security footage and found this. Evidence of you secretly deleting your medical scans. Otto explains that it was all in order to keep his secret identity safe. That is why Iron Man and Captain America fought the superhuman Civil War, was it not? So that he could have the right to such privacy? As it stands, 3 of the Avengers already know. And as far as he's concerned, that's 3 too many. Black Widow reasons that this isn't out of the blue. Spider-Man has been acting strange for a while now. Spider-Woman adds that Spider-Man's last excuse about the symbiote isn't exactly lining up either. Wolverine tells everyone that at the word, he can have a number of psychics checking out this problem for them. Otto goes on the defensive. So, that's all it takes. Someone acts strange, and it gives you the right to pry into their mind. I've acted strange in the past, been wanted for murder, treason, all kinds of lawlessness. So, what's so special about this time? Why now? Iron Man leans from around the hologram. Because now you're an Avenger. Maybe I should take a look at these scans. Maybe I can spot something the others missed. Good luck, Stark. Those files are gone. I made certain. In the mindscape, Peter thinks to himself that he cannot just sit back and do nothing. He is Peter Parker. He is Spider-Man. And if he knows anything, it's that anyone can win a fight when the odds are easy. It's when the going's tough, when there seems to be no chance. That's when it counts. Otto Octavius made a mistake. The memories he left are the key ones, the moments that define Peter. Otto hasn't wiped him out. He's burned Peter in a crucible, distilled him to his core. And Peter knows now, more than anything, he is the man who never gives up. That's who he is. And he will find a way to win. Back in the factory, the Goblin King grits his teeth and hammers his fist on the ground before pushing himself to his feet. Small chinks of his armor fall to the floor.
This isn't over,
He scowls.
Far from it. Nothing keeps me down, Kingsley. Not death, betrayal, even the entire world against me. Every time I rise back up, stronger than before. Every time.
The Goblin King rips off his partly torn armor, revealing a large indent in his chest plate. That scar, where the glider, it is you, Osborn. The Hobgoblin hesitates. Then, when he snaps back to reality, the Hobgoblin digs into his satchel and launches one pumpkin bomb after another at his enemy. The Goblin King dodges every one.
Sorry, what was that?
The king asks.
Couldn't quite hear you.
Stay away from me. The Hobgoblin backpedals, once again attempting to distance himself. The Mad King roars out in a fit of laughter.
Say it again! Say it! Say my name!
The Goblin King rears back and punches the Hobgoblin with a powerful lunging strike. Osborne, wait, The Goblin King interrupts the Hobgoblin with an elbow to the jaw.
Yes! The one true Goblin! The Goblin King!
The king then follows up with an uppercut to the stomach and a backhand strong enough to send the Hobgoblin flying backwards. The Hobgoblin attempts to stand back on his feet, but the king rushes him and punches him back down to the ground.
And I decree that you, pretender to the throne, must die by my hand around your worthless neck.
In a desperate bid for protection, the Hobgoblin digs back into his satchel and pulls out one of his projectile razor bats and stabs it into the king's ribcage. The king is unfazed. He is already drunk off adrenaline. Instead, the king just cackles wildly as he wraps his fingers around the Hobgoblin's throat and squeezes the life out of him. Once the Hobgoblin's body hits the floor, an uproar of praise fills the air. They chant and cheer, calling out his name. Osborne, their one and only Goblin King. Back at the Avengers Tower, Spider-Man has had enough. Stop right there. You think you have the right to meddle in my affairs because I'm an Avenger? Fine. The solution here is simple. I quit. Spider-Man turns around and jumps out of the window, shattering the glass, and leaves the shards to fall to the ground oh so many stories below. The Avengers stand there and watch as he swings away. Earth's mightiest heroes, he huffs. Well, no more, because without me, you're nothing. I don't need you. I don't need anyone. In the factory, the Goblin King creates smoke circles in the air as he howls to the moon. He looks down at his people, and it brings him even more joy.
Look at us! All together! Stronger than ever! One big happy! Come, old friends and new! Back to the underground for the lot of you! So much to plan! So much to do!
The Goblin Knight is the last to leave the building. Be right with you. Gotta check on something first. 'Cause I've been here before. Same place, same guy. Hell, I even chopped off his head. And if that taught me anything, it's that you always gotta poke under the hood to make sure. The Goblin Knight removes the Hobgoblin's mask. And, honestly, he's not surprised at what he sees. It's not the right guy. He decides he has to destroy the body. No one can know or the king will lose his claim to all Kingsley's men. But where is he? The knight wonders. Where is the real Hobgoblin? Elsewhere, from a safe house within Paris, France, Roderick Kingsley grunts. I may have to leave you in for 5 more minutes, he says to a man strapped in a chair, unwillingly staring into a screen. I am Roderick Kingsley, says the man. The one and only Hobgoblin. I am Roderick Kingsley, the one and only Hobgoblin. Yes, Kingsley agrees before finishing his statement. Then, on to phase 2 of the Winkler process. Memories of combat training. Then, we'll work on the voice. Have to get the voice right. I'm going to miss Claude. Fantastic manservant. He made a terrible Hobgoblin, but the best Boyabaze. But some sacrifices have to be made. Just not self-sacrifices. Ah well, time to lay low again. To plan, to scheme, to rise anew. He pours himself a drink and raises it into the air. Wave your victory today, Osborne. You earned it. To you, my old foe, and to goblins everywhere. What's up, everyone? It's Corey, and I just wanted to take this time to thank everyone for their support. The Superior Spider-Man as a whole is special to me because it's the first run that got me back into comics in the early 2010s. But it wasn't the only run. I can say though that it was the first run I read to completion. It helped me figure out how tie-ins work, crossovers, ancillary series, everything you basically need to know about comics. I learned from the Superior Spider-Man. So yeah, once again, thanks for watching, and we only have 2 more books to go.